this episode of Travelogue, we venture to the ancient city of Luoyang in Henan province. We explore the old town, go behind the scenes at a workshop of a renowned local craftsman, and walk in the footsteps of the infamous Tang Dynasty concubine turned empress Wu Zetian.
Hello there and welcome to Luoyang, one of only 4 ancient capitals in China. This city was the epicenter of the country for 13 dynasties, which means it saw the evolution of many of the things that make Chinese culture what it is today. Buddhism, Taoism, and many artistic achievements. And during this episode of Travelogue, I'm going to get to walk in some of the footsteps of some of the most famous and infamous figures in Chinese history. Hi, I'm Katrina Yu, and welcome to Travelogue.
Luoyang is located in the west of Henan province. It lies in the heart of the country, encircled by mountains and plains, close to the Yellow River and to some vital ancient roads. Because of its location, Luoyang played a pivotal role in Chinese history. You may not guess it at first, but this peaceful, community-oriented city is endowed with a profound sense of culture. Henan is one of China's central provinces and considered one of the cradles of Chinese civilization. This city was the setting of many famous Chinese legends, and although it looks pretty modern now, there are still some traces of its past.
Now we're about to enter the west gate of the old city. Now if you can see behind me, the city was once enclosed in a circular type of structure. And if you walk in there today, you get a sense of what the ancient city might have been like in its heyday.
Walking through these gates is a little like traveling back in time. The main street of the old city is a bustling marketplace filled with just as many locals as tourists. Traditional bangers hang over every shopfront, advertising the wares to passers-by just as they would have done hundreds of years ago. Luoyang marked the beginning of the Silk Road, so it was always a place where people came to buy and sell things. And as you can still see walking down this old street, that it's still very much a place where people do that. But perhaps the difference is, compared with other Chinese cities today, these old areas have not been turned into entertainment streets, restaurants and bars. They still remain very traditional. People are selling things to view and making calligraphy or ancient types of paintings. I suppose in a way that summarizes what Luoyang is about. It's about culture and tradition. That's not to say you can't enjoy more modern pursuits, like shopping. Sure, the stores are filled with pretty trinkets and tasty snacks, but I get the sense that shopping in Luoyang offers something more. Vendors here sell quality traditional and handcrafted items, and given the significance of the city, each purchase is almost like taking home a bit of history. Not to mention, gifts loved ones back home would be more than happy to receive. Of course, not every bit of history can be taken home in a shopping bag. In Luoyang, tradition literally surrounds you. This old city is the perfect place to explore ancient Chinese architecture. Strolling through the neighborhood, we pass classical courtyards capped with decorative rooftops. Behind each wall is a different sunny sanctuary. We visit the luxurious home of a Luoyang local, who I guess might well have lived it up in centuries past.
Wow, this place is really relaxing. We're still in the old city, but it feels like we're miles away. You know, when Luoyang was the capital of China, it would have felt like the center of the universe. So they obviously like to live in a place where they were in and amongst all the energy and the crowds. But they lived their lives in such a way that they could come home to a place like this. They built this very peaceful courtyard so they could come home and find what was a little corner of paradise.
If you come to Luoyang, you too can easily pop into the home of a family who lived hundreds of years ago and get a taste of their life in more ways than one.
Well, I've learned that I have something in common with the people of Luoyang, and it's that they love to eat soup. Different types of soup are eaten at different times of the day, and I've been told by some local friends that this is a place I simply have to check out. Okay, smells really good. So this is a tofu kind of soup, which is usually eaten during the day. And to go with it, they've given me some piece of bread. I thought it was noodles to begin with, but it's actually a piece of bread sliced conveniently like noodles, so you can eat it. But there's also noodles inside the soup, a type of sweet potato noodle, I've been told. So, are you hungry? Well, I am, so if you don't mind, I'd tuck in to it. So the other things that we've got swimming in here are some vegetables, and I love this particular type of noodles. They generally love noodles here in Henan. We eat noodles pretty much every day, but this is a kind of different type. I thought it was some type of like rice vermicelli, but actually this type of noodle is made with sweet potato, which gives it a really sort of chewy, kind of lovely texture, which goes really well with the tofu and a bit of bread too.
The soup you'll find here is much heavier than the varieties in the country's south, and while others may usually sip their soup using a spoon, true Luoyang locals drink theirs straight from the bowl. Now there's some insider knowledge for you. In this episode of Travelogue, we venture to the ancient city of Luoyang in Henan province. We explore the old town, go behind the scenes at a workshop of a renowned local craftsman, and walk in the footsteps of the infamous Tang Dynasty concubine turned empress Wu Zetian. Luoyang is famously the home of a towering figure in China's history. Concubine turned sovereign Wu Zetian, the Tang Dynasty icon was the only female emperor in China's history.
And if you want to walk in the footsteps of one of the Tang Dynasty's most infamous women, you can come to this place. In fact, this is where Wu Zetian worshipped.
Tian Tang is inspired by ancient descriptions of Wu Zetian's imperial temple. She led a powerful and prosperous nation and liked to flaunt it.
Whoa! So this place definitely makes an impression, and it's meant to. Now, we don't know exactly what this temple might have looked like. And if you think there's lots of gold here, well, there's a good chance there was a great deal more in the real thing. This place would have been built with the wealth of an entire grand nation. And regardless of the details, what it would have looked like exactly, this whole place, every detail inside it was designed to make a point. I'm wealthy, I am powerful, I'm Wu Zetian, don't listen.
The temple's design has a built-in architectural illusion. From the outside, it appears to just have 5 stories, but in fact, there are 9. And each level is ornately or more simply decorated according to its function, whether that be worship, prayer, or learning. You see, this building isn't just an elaborate copy of something past, it's also a lively center of Buddhist education. I think that would have pleased Wu Zetian, as her reign wasn't only known for its wealth, but also for being a time where Buddhism expanded and thrived throughout the country. So it's still a traditional temple, but with a technological upgrade.
Well, just because this place is quite literally a tower of tradition,
doesn't mean it can't incorporate some newer technologies. For example, ta-da! You have a QR code, and if you take your very useful mobile phone and use whatever program you usually use to scan things, you can scan it. And voila! Within seconds, you have access to an audio guide about this tower. Pretty nifty, huh?
Walking on the ground level, you can see the original foundations of Wu Zetian's palace from 1300 years ago.
What's really cool about this building is that if you go down to the first level, you can see just below the original foundations of this building. So that is the foundation of the building that Wu Zetian actually built. And here in China, it's quite auspicious or lucky to drop some money in there. So I've prepared 1 RMB. Now I'm going to make a wish. Now, if we can imagine the city of Luoyang as a treasure trove of Chinese history, then this place is definitely one of its crown jewels.
Located in downtown Luoyang, it's easy to be intimidated by this mammoth museum. Its vast collection is spread over 20,000 square meters. But never fear, as soon as you enter, you'll notice a tourist center to your right with everything you need to get the most out of your visit, including English-speaking guides. There are 4 display halls and 5 exhibition rooms spread over 2 spacious levels. The collections date back to the Stone Age, telling the story of China's evolution through the centuries.
And Luoyang is a very famous ancient capital city in China. So you can see there are 13 dynasties named because it also makes the capital in here.
And I see there's a map here with the rivers.
Being the capital for 13 dynasties has turned Luoyang into a living archive of Chinese culture and history, and some very precious artifacts, those preserved and protected over the ages, can be found in this museum, one of the best in the country. Showcased are objects from the ancient Xia, Shang and Zhou dynasties. These bronze vessels were, incredibly, fashioned up to 4,000 years ago. Back then, China's prowess at bronze casting was unrivaled, and peeking into those glass cases and noticing the intricate and beautiful details, it's easy to see why. Sculptures and pottery from the tumultuous Warring States period of 477 to 221 BC are also on display. Some would have been used in religious rituals. Others were literally made to be buried, placed in the tombs of important and wealthy figures to ensure they could take their power and prosperity with them into the next life. But it's not all bowls and boxes. Fun animal figures decorate this Eastern Han Dynasty in candelabra. It was an era marking innovations in porcelain, when Chinese artists could really flex their creativity through ceramics. Later treasures can also be found. This museum is particularly proud of its Tang San Zai, or multicolored pottery from the Tang period about 1300 years ago.
What I like in this museum is that you can really get a sense of what the Tang women looks like. They had a particular way of dressing and of doing their hair, and they also had a very particular way of looking. They like to have their bodies a bit more curvaceous. They like their faces to be fuller, and in particular, they like to have balls of fat on their neck. This in Chinese is called sanguan. If you had this, you're considered pretty lucky.
Tang women, with their pale faces, accentuated crimson lips, and elegant upstyled hair, are said to have inspired the look of Japanese geishas of today. But we've barely scratched the surface. Thousands of other jade, silver, and gold relics enrich this museum, so you best come to China and set aside some hours to see it. But one kind of item in here that you might have seen elsewhere is the Tangshan Sai. Luoyang's Tangshan Sai is famous and still internationally sought after, so I leave the museum and head to a place where I can learn more. The studio of Tangshan Sai artist Gao Shuiwang. Mr. Gao is a modern-day master of this ancient art and has spent more than 30 years crafting exquisite pieces. His work has actually been mistaken for authentic Tang Dynasty-era craftsmanship. The pieces showcased here are among his best, some of which have won awards. His favorite subject? Horses.
你像这些马，这是在唐代时期，这个唐汉菜啊，这个马匹是比较常见的，包括马和骆驼，它代表一种唐代时期中国和西方国家这种丝绸之路这种商业来往比较频繁。
高老师这么看是那个是很好的，还是不好做的？
哦，唐汉菜是这样分这个。因为唐汉菜的制作啊，它分这个雕塑造型和这个它制作工艺比较多。它第一道工序就是雕塑造型，它的形态。如果要是好的作品，它的雕塑造型啊，它把那个包括人物的这个神韵、面部，它这种在和人谈话、和人交谈这种神韵，它都能表达出来。包括它这种雕塑造型。实际上，在这个唐汉菜制作里边，实际上是比较重要的一个环节。现在都可以带你到厂里边去参观参观，我们看看这个制作流程。
好了，谢谢。I feel honored to be invited to Mr. Gao's factory to see firsthand how it's produced. Tangshan Sai is often given as a gift to foreign dignitaries and VIP guests to China today. And Mr. Gao insists on producing his using methods and materials which reflect the original Tang-era process. Molds are used as the initial step, but the details are meticulously perfected by hand.
这个唐汉菜啊，也是一种艺术品。做这个艺术品一定要追求艺术价值，要把它精神头表现出来。 这是比较关键的。
So it seems simple enough, just looking at it, but actually every single stroke and the amount of stress that you put into it makes a huge difference for the outcome. Once the raw shapes are given the green light, they're dried and ready for painting. And I gotta admit, walking into this part of the factory was not what I expected. After all, Tangshan Sai means multicolored ceramics. And well, all I see here are different shades of one color. But soon, Mr. Gao explains why.
这个上釉，这是白色的，这是黄釉，这是绿釉，这三种颜色。我先给你上一个，你先看一下啊。这样已经把这釉浇好，像这个地方就上这个白釉。
Though it may look easy, you need to get the strokes just right. And I'm a little nervous about making a mistake. I can imagine that after repeating this process again and again, it may become a little tedious or boring. So a great passion must have fueled Mr. Gao's 30-year career.
好，挺不错的。这个上釉啊，这个厚薄一定要掌握均匀。如果上的厚的情况下，它出来流动性太大不好；如果上的太薄，它出来就成瓷品了。所以说这一定要掌握均匀。上的不错，学得挺快，上的不错啊。
He was just telling me that the thickness of the paint is really, really important in terms of the end product. So, what do you think of my masterpiece? Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see if it will really be a masterpiece. 谢谢。
不错不错。
So once your painted work of art is done and dry, you put it into one of these ovens here, and it comes out like, like this. Finished tongue sai. Look at that. How wonderful is that? So one day, this one will grow up to be like this one. Hello. Pretty cool, huh?
Now, some of the tongue sai will go through a final step to achieve more of a vintage look, but this technique is top secret. I guess some things are best left a mystery. Up next on Travelogue, we see China's finest flower under heaven, captured in a beautifully unique way. And we get lost in a local market of grilling, frying, sweet and salty goodness. If you mention Luoyang in China, chances are people will call to mind one thing: the peony. The striking national flower blooms all across this city, but only for around 20 days in April and May. Thankfully, a local artist has created these works of art, ensuring the peony blossoms all year round.
Wow. You know, I've seen many fake flowers, and although some of them are very nice, none of them quite give you that same effect of seeing a real live blossoming flower. But these are different. You know, because of the shininess, it gives them that effect of being full of water. And because of the intricate care put into each and every petal, when I behold the finished product, I get that same quiet jolt of excitement from seeing something so beautiful. And I think I really wouldn't mind receiving one of these.
The peony is said to represent wealth and honor, and has been regarded through the ages as the finest flower under heaven. Little wonder these young women and men pay the utmost attention to getting each element right. Only the finest work can embody the peony's lush, rounded bloom. Sure, they're producing something en masse, but truly, each one of these workers is an artist in his or her own right. Soon, I meet the man behind this huge factory and ask him how this all began.
老师，我看到那个牡丹色非常漂亮，你为什么开始做这个牡丹色？
这个与我们这个对洛阳的情节关系特别大。就是我是那个本地出生，从小在洛阳长大，我走籍就是洛阳，因为我们对洛阳的牡丹花是情有独钟。所以说，在洛阳的牡丹是有花开花落20日，就说花期特别短。一次偶然的机会啊，我当过兵出身，我的战友在2007年时候来看牡丹，但因为天气不太好，下雨，就没有看着。最后在闲谈之余，说用什么材料能把牡丹花叫它长期不败。所以说这说者无意啊，听者有心。但是我们都当时就后来从07年来下半年，我们都开始琢磨这个用什么材料。反正我们用了3年时间呀，把中国的工艺美术基本上跑了一个遍。最后我们09年末2010年初，最后我们用陶瓷来做牡丹花，就是把有花开花落20日的牡丹，叫它千年不败，富贵永恒。
As the factory is closing for the day, we make our way back to the city for dinner.
Well, if it's about 6 p.m. in Luoyang and you're feeling a little peckish, then this is the place to come. It's called Shizijie, and it means cross street. It's a night market, and I think the name is really apt because it seems to be a place where all different kinds of foods come together. So let's go check it out.
Shizijie Market is situated right next to Luoyang's old main street. While it's a quiet intersection by day, at night it comes alive with crowds, bright lights, and a medley of mouth-watering sounds. Grilling, frying, barbecuing, and boiling. The most popular stalls sell street versions of shui Luoyang's special local cuisine. Well, We spent our day on a sort of history hunt, so I feel it's only apt we begin this evening with a local culinary quest.
And sizzling goodness. Now, being in Henan, we're in the north, and people in the north seem to like things that are fried and doughy, and yeah, those fried dumplings are pretty good. What do you think? I think no matter how hungry, no matter how full you think you are, after you hear the sound of the sizzling, you're hungry. An octopus covered in peppery, chili, sesame goodness. At first sight, I thought it was kind of a bleak Christmas tree, but actually, they're twirl sticks, barbecue sticks, because this place is that popular, so I don't think I can go past it. Look at that!
With my hands full of all these snacks, I'd say mission accomplished.
Well, I think I'm just about done with my shopping, and sadly, we're just about done with this episode too. You know, I've really enjoyed traveling through Loyang. It's like walking into a time capsule, alive with tradition and alive with the spirit of Chinese culture. Here, I've been really able to have my fill of history. And you know what? I'm gonna get to have my fill of other things too. But should be ready. Do you guys want to have a few? A little? I'm good. Thank you for joining us on Travelogue, and if you don't mind, I'm going to get something to eat.